Paddy the Baddy going to be taking on Jordan Leavitt. I got to tell you a couple of thoughts on this fight, but right from Jump Street, Jordan Leavitt, by the numbers, by resume, is a hard fight. And I only bring that to you because I don't think that's the plan. If you give a guy like Paddy, who's got a lot of steam and a lot of momentum, and is largely the one to thank for the sold-out house that you're in, if you're going to help him out, you're going to build him, you got to give him an easy fight. I'm just sharing with you, I don't think this is an easy fight. You guys remember Conor's career. Conor's career is one of the only times where Dana publicly spoke and said, yeah, I'm going to build this guy, I have a plan. He also did that for Chimaev. I don't know if Dana stuck to the plan for Chimaev. He appears to be getting some pretty hard stuff thrown at him, but I'm sharing with you, like, Dana doesn't really speak like that. Even if he does it, something that he kind of plays close to the vest. But he openly admitted it with Conor. Now, in hindsight, Conor had to fight a guy that nobody had heard of named Max Holloway. Conor had to fight a guy that nobody was familiar with named Dustin Poirier. Right? Conor had to fight on short notice Chad Money Mendez. Like, the carrying of Conor, nobody's career is more like a fine wine that has looked better with time than Conor McGregor, because we all believed it. He's walking in there with Max. Max was 20 or 21 years old. He's like the youngest guy in the division, but I believe he was the youngest guy in the entire UFC at this time. It was supposed to be a carry-me match. Sure it was. So was Poirier. So was Dennis Seaver. I mean, right on down the line. But you look back and go, man, those were pretty hard. We don't know what we don't know. And I only bring that to you because Leavitt's a tough night. And Leavitt believes in himself. He's going to go twerk on Paddy. Now, the Paddy experiment is not going to work. Why do I say that? Well, he's got youth. He's got hunger. He's got momentum. He appears to work hard. He appears to not be scared to fight. But he's also a guy who, within that youth and inexperience, gets up to 200 pounds before he pulls back down. That's very relevant. It's very relevant because I'm just going to give you that one thing. Forget Paddy, forget English, just take everything out of it. Could you give me an example of anybody in history who goes from 200 pounds back to 45, does that 3 times a year, and has a meaningful career? You're going to have a really hard time. I could give you, without any level of research, off the top of my head, 5 examples. And I could probably keep going. I'll give you 5 where that did not work, where that blew up and that backfired, and their careers were very short. And it resulted in frustration. It resulted in anguish. It resulted in, hey, I don't want to do that anymore at some point. But before you even get to that, you have the actual results. And then you have the guy that starts to not make weight. It's the same story each time. And then all of a sudden, he's going to change and he's going to go up to 55. Maybe that works and maybe it doesn't. Again, I can play that both ways. I knew guys and I grew up with them. Best guys in the country. I know a guy won 2 national championships, but he had to do it. He had to do it at 103 pounds. You move him to 112, he's not even going to place. How do you go from national champion to you can't even place because of 9 pounds? How do you do that? Well, there's some guys that are like that. I don't know what Paddy's number is, but neither do you. I don't know that anything I'm saying isn't going to prove to be the opposite, and he does better work when he moves up. I don't know that he's not going to do a Conor and skip 55 and all of a sudden become a 170 pounder. We don't know. But when a guy's going down to 45, it's because he believes he needs to be at 45. He knows what he feels like at 55. He's in the room at 55, and he's still identified, I need to take 10 more off. And it's one of those things where that doesn't last. You get a little bit of run out of there, but all of a sudden you turn 28. All of a sudden you turn 30. Your body does not cooperate the way that it used to. You start missing weight, you even do that one time, you can be pulled right out of the rankings. All of a sudden you're out of the rankings, you don't even matter anymore. What's the point? What's the point of all of it? If you can't get to a title, if you're not in a meaningful striking distance, and I'm only sharing with you that there is some things that you have to look at here with Paddy. They're not for today. This is not today's problem. There is another side to the coin. Just fighters do need to reward themselves at times. Clayton Hires believed after a fight, don't come in the gym, you need to go get fat. He would tell guys that. When I see you for your first day of camp for your next fight, I need you to not be able to get through practice. I need you sore and tired and exhausted. I got to have something that we can work towards. So as I get you in shape, I see you changing. I see your practices extending. Now we can do something called a peak. So there's another side to the Paddy story. I'm just sharing with you that if you do look at it historically, these things become a problem. whether that's Saturday or not, they become a problem. And now you bring in a guy like Leavitt. I don't know a ton about Leavitt. I know the twerking. I know he's charismatic. I know that I find him interesting. But I haven't seen a whole body of his fights. I think he's had 14. I think he's even 14-1. I know I'm real close on that. Does some real good work on the ground. He's already threatened that he's going to go out there and twerk Paddy. He was offended when they called him. He actually said that. I know they're trying to give Paddy easy opponents. I could not believe they chose me. But those are meaningful things. Because the jury's still out on Paddy. There sure seems to be some promise there. But we do have to make some deductions. If you're coming into camp 55 pounds overweight, are you focused on the match? Or are you focused on beating the scale? You guys would be stunned to know how little time a fighter will spend on the match, on strategizing, on folks, maybe take some notes. Maybe it's one of these guys, maybe sits around with his coaches a little bit. They break down some film, they hit rewind, and they watch it again. Maybe they do some of that. You would be shocked what a small fraction of time that is in comparison to what they will put into beating that scale. When a guy comes in the room and he's not wearing shorts and a t-shirt, we can go get a good workout. He's got on a sweat outfit. He needs to get a couple extra pounds off. You will see these guys where all of a sudden you're sacrificing a workout, turns into a day of workouts, turns into the majority of the workouts you did in this week, which turns out into the months and you only spent 2 doing it. When a guy gets really big, I don't know, Paddy. I'm making a lot of guesses here. And these are guesses that aren't going to pertain to Saturday. By the way, he's still at the youth. He's still at the point. This is what he knows. He's dancing with the one that brought him. Paddy is doing everything right for these circumstances. But I will share with you as your body starts to change, which is very quickly. A couple fights from now, he's a year older. 5 fights from now, he's 3 years older. Right? I mean, the fight game is a very quick, very few days at work. Majority of the career is done. It's one of these things. And I do always have to wonder, how do you get to 200 pounds? If you weighed 145 on this date, how are you 200 pounds? Now, we can all laugh because we don't understand physiology. We can all laugh because that's never happened to us. We don't actually know, and he's eating Twinkies and ding-dongs, right? You always get some guy, anytime a guy's trying to make a fat guy comment, he then works Twinkies into it. You know these guys? Oh, why don't you go have another Twinkie? It's always one of these things. Go have 10 Twinkies. Why don't you go do it right now? You think you're going to gain 55 pounds? I really do have a question. How do you gain 55 pounds? Because it's calories in to calories out. So if you're in the room and you're training, or you're doing that twice a day as you should, you can only get so many calories ahead. So when a guy puts on 55 pounds, I don't know. I'm not there, but I am going to suppose that he's not in the room training. And that's another thing that catches a guy. If a guy goes in to camp, if a guy goes into preparation only once he has a contract, you're now talking about 6 months a year. 6 months a year you're working out, 6 months you're not. That is a part-time job. That just doesn't work, and some guys will get away from it. But over a period of time, they find out, I don't really have people I can trust. Right? You're either part of a team or you aren't. If you're only in there on the days that you need to be in there, you're not part of the team. Real simple. It's a real simple litmus test. If you're in there every day, and maybe you change your intensity, and maybe some days you don't even work out, you just kind of walk around the room and help go, but you're in there every day, you're now part of a team. That is good for longevity. And I'm just bringing these things to your attention because these experiments always work until they don't. And then once a guy loses, the last concept he will ever have is changing weight classes. Even if he knows he's put all of his time into making weight, which is what's taken away from the sport, he will never come to the conclusion, I need to change weight. If I lost at 45, by God, I got to stay at 45. It's just a piece of the psychology, and the media will agree with you, and so will the promotion. You'll never even get the opportunity. So if you want to be a 45-pounder, but you want to turn into a 55-pounder, you also have to be undefeated. You can't go do okay at 45 and even get a contract for 55. It's very relevant, right? That scale beats them all. All of the guys that retired, and I mean all of them. Yeah, there's this, I don't want to do this work anymore. But if they had the ability to just walk out on fight night, to just deal with those anxieties, it's going to be super hard and go and do that, but I don't have to make weight again, they wouldn't retire. Everybody who retires has some part of that equation tied to the opponent they have the day before. It's a very big deal. I know you guys don't see it. That's not how weigh-ins are presented to you. It's a formality. It's something you do. It's like signing a poster. It's like filling out your paperwork. That's how it's presented. It's just one thing on the checklist. Guys, it's the number one thing. You will go out and fight 3 times a year, scheduled for 15 to 25 minutes, depending where you're at in your career. Total all those minutes up. What are we at? A maximum of 75 minutes? You will spend all of your waking hours trying to beat that scale. And I just shared, because we don't have a lot of pieces on Paddy, but I do have some questions. How the hell do you gain that much weight if you are in fact training? I don't think you can. I don't think you can. So I think I'm right when I tell you there isn't training. There's only camp, there's only preparation. That's a selfish approach that won't last in the long run. Then you end up with a guy named Jordan Leavitt. Says he's going to twerk on you. Doesn't appear to give a goddamn. I mean, right? Guys like that are a problem. If a guy's not going to get puckered up in the back and feel the pressure and be nervous about you prior to the fight, you got a problem on your hands. Jordan, he strikes me as one of those guys. He really does. And I don't know how good Paddy is. I know there's a promise. I know there is something there, and it's special. But I don't know how good he is. You've got to have a dominant field that you can turn to. In every fight, if this isn't working, I can turn to this. If that doesn't work, I can rely on this. I got to get him there. I got to force this position. But I have strategies and abilities to do it. And once I get him there, I will be in control. You got to have that. Otherwise, you're in a crapshoot. You end up in a crapshoot, you're going to have an okay career. You're going to tell your kids someday that you fought in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. You're going to have some memories, some lumps, and some unemployment checks to look forward to. That's just the way that goes. You will be an interchangeable mediocrity like most of the guys in this sport. But that's not what's out there for Paddy. That's not what people see. I've been in the room when Paddy walks in. When other stars walk in, but Paddy walks in, he got the loudest reception. Surprised me. He's over. People like him. There's a motivation here. Does he have the skills to back it up? I think Jordan Leavitt is a little harder opponent than they planned for.